This story began in the beautiful city of Paris. In one of the quiet streets, in a small house, lived a boy. His name was Jacques. Jacques had many different toys, but his favorite among them was a little lion cub named Rouaïa. Jack loved his lion cub very much and hardly ever parted with it. They often walked along the garden paths, and Jack treated Rua to strawberries that grew in the beds. Once upon a time, the parents set off on a long journey and decided to take Jacques with them. Of course, Jacques could not leave his favorite pet, Rua. "We're going to Africa! To Africa!" Hooray! They flew for a long time on the plain towards the sun. The fields and forests below looked like small green carpets, the mountain ridges like piles of sand on playgrounds, and the vast seas like ordinary puddles. Finally, they arrived in Africa. "Look, Rua, this is your homeland," said the boy to the lion cub. In the evening, Jacques went to bed. As always, he placed the lion cub next to him on the pillow. Snuggled up against each other, they fell asleep. At night, the lion cub was awakened by some strange distant sound, as if someone was calling him, "Rua! Rua!" The lion cub got up, listened, and slowly, so as not to wake the boy, climbed down from the bed. As soon as the lion cub touched the floor, something incredible happened to it. It began to grow rapidly and transformed into a big lion, just like a real one. He silently opened the door and, stepping softly like a cat, began to descend the stairs. The cat jumped out of the open window, and when morning came, he was already far from home. From time to time, the lion stopped, listening to a distant call. He walked, and found himself in front of a tall cliff. A huge lion emerged from a crack. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am Rua. I woke up very early and got hungry." "Come into my cave. You will be my guest," the lion said warmly. The lion's cave was clean and tidy, like in a real home. A fire was burning in the hearth, and a fragrant roast was warming on the pan. A lioness was sitting in a chair by the fire, while the little lion cubs were playing on the rug. The lioness stood up and extended her paw to Rouaïa. The lion cubs made a curtsy, showing how well-mannered they were. "We arrived on time," the hostess said politely. "We are about to have lunch and are very happy to have a guest." The table was covered with a festive tablecloth. In the middle of the table, they placed a frying pan, and Rouaïa was given a full plate of baked goods. Rouaïa bit off a piece of meat, chewed it, and spat it out. Moreover, he was grimacing as if he had been given a full spoonful of castor oil. The hosts were upset, and the little lion cubs stared in amazement and stopped smacking their lips. "Don't you eat pastries?" asked Lev. "Then what do you eat?" "In Paris, where I lived before, I only ate strawberries," Rua said seriously. "Don't you eat pastries?" asked Lev. "Then what do you eat?" "In Paris, where I lived before, I only ate strawberries," Rua said seriously. "Here, another city!" exclaimed Rua, and began to talk about Paris. But the lions had never been to cities and understood everything in their own way. To them, Paris seemed like a place where only lions lived. The lions traded in shops, drove cars. We walked along the boulevards in the rain, opening colorful umbrellas above our heads. On hot days, steamers set off for outings to the countryside, sailing under the amazing Parisian bridges. Everyone listened with bated breath to Rua's story. The next morning, Rua said goodbye to the hospitable family. He was walking and heard a distant voice calling him, "Rua! Rua!" On the way, he met various animals. Zebras and giraffes treated him with leaves from the trees. The camels treated him to prickly cacti. But every time he spat the food out of his mouth and grimaced. On the third day, Rua met a man. He was a hunter. He brought a horn to his lips and blew, "Rua, Rua." It sounded as if a real lion was roaring. This was how he tried to lure the lions into the ambush. When the hunter saw a lion in front of him, he was excited, dropped his rifle and took a shot. Without hesitation, Rau jumped on the hunter and threw him to the ground. "I won't do it again," the hunter shouted. "Ask for whatever you want. I'm really hungry, and I can't eat anything but strawberries." "Okay, I'll get you some strawberries." This lion must be crazy, the hunter thought. This is the first time I've heard of lions eating strawberries. We should be more careful with him. But he did not say anything out loud, and they moved on. The hunter hobbled ahead, and Rui walked behind him, holding a rifle in his teeth. They came to a small town and stopped in front of a two-story house. "I've seen this house before," thought Rua. "Wait a bit," said the hunter. "My friends live here. They have recently arrived from Paris. I will take some strawberry jam from them and bring it to you." The hunter left, and Rua was left alone. He thought, "The owners of this house have recently arrived from Paris, and the house looks familiar to me. Of course. Why didn't I think of it before? It's Jacques and his parents." All the days after Rouet disappeared, the boy cried. He didn't eat well, didn't sleep well, and kept thinking that Rouet would come back to him. But alas, the lion cub never did. The hunter told his friends about his encounter with an unusual lion. "It's my Rouet! He's back! Of all the lions in the world, he's the only one who likes strawberries. This is a particularly dangerous animal," my father objected. "We need to see it first." My father took his binoculars and went with the hunter to the attic, where he could see the entire yard. They looked in all directions for a long time, but saw nothing. "Maybe the lion is hiding behind the fence," said the hunter. "What if we take him a jar of strawberry jam?" The lion would calm down and go away. And so they did. They went out into the yard. A hunter with a jar of jam was in the lead, and everyone else followed. Suddenly, at the gate, everyone saw a small plush lion cub. There was a gun next to it. "Rua! My Rua!" Jacques shouted joyfully. "Thank you! You are the kindest and best hunter in the world." Yes, the kindest." The hunter mumbled, not understanding how a big, scary lion could turn into a toy lion. "I think I'm sick. I'll go home and take my temperature." Jacques brought the lion cub home and fed him strawberry jam. Since then, Rua has never run away from home again. And if a mysterious call came to him at night, Rouet would bury his nose in his pillow and pretend not to hear anything.